Yoksa başta. Oradan ja, unë kthehem kështu. One, two, one, two. Test, test. Is everybody in?
Yes.
Mr. DJ? Yeah. All right. Welcome to Tula, to another series of serious talks about rhythms of matter. Tonight, I have a pleasure. We have a very interesting person tonight with us, and he is Michel Rojkind. For those of you that maybe you don't know him, he's by the Forbes Life. He was, according to Forbes Life, he was one of the best architects that changed the country of Mexico. And in 2005, the architecture record chose his firm that is one of the 10 best firms of architecture on the planet. I don't know. Anyway, he's our friend, you know. Michel.
We're going to talk about the things that matter.
Yeah.
Those matter, but
Yeah.
the ones that really matter, no?
Yes. Things that matter are, you're our friend, you know. And also our beautiful host, Adelina Greca, who is the director of planning territory of Albania and Atelier Albania. And we together, we're going to make like a non-formal talk with Michel, okay, tonight. We talk about different things. So.
Thank you, Alban, for hosting us here in this very warm, beautiful place. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is the second time that we are, let's say, trying to have a talk with architects and speak also about music while talking about architecture. And we have Michel today. I've known Michel in February. He was invited to Albania to collaborate in, let's say, building the country together with local architects and other international architects. But it feels like I know him for a lifetime. That's what he does. He is, let's say, very kind of welcoming, and he connects people. He is a very dear person to us. And this is the second time that we're meeting him on stage for, this time, a talk. First time it was for a lecture. When I met Michel in February, the first question that he asked me was about art spaces in Tirana, underground, hidden, kind of different alternative art spaces. And the first that came to my mind was Tula. And that's how this, let's say, friendship came about, Tula and Michel. And during our talks, it was an idea to bring you to Tula. So welcome, Michel.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Well, it's an honor to be here. As Adelina is mentioning, it feels like family, guys. There's a lot of people that now today I can call my family. So it doesn't feel any different than Mexico. I hope when you're in Mexico, we make you feel the same way. Because we can be in a different part of the world, and it just feels so connected heart-wise, no? And I do believe that countries that we have a history of so many things happening, there's a certain humanity that kind of flourishes. And so it's an honor to be here and to talk about, well, Alban, thanks for the space, the sharing music, the DJ, Besnik, also over there, back in the booth to put some music. And I just want to have some images in the background, but since the talk is about having the courage to imagine, because I think that we're living in a moment that it's very critical that we all enforce our capacity to imagine. No, we take imagination for granted, and we sometimes don't use it. We complain about the world and everything going around, but we forget that imagination is free. And imagination, I mean, we need to be courageous to imagine, no, to change the things that we don't like in the world. And I have my computer with me because talking about having the courage to imagine and trying to talk about the depth, giving culture again some depth instead of having this superficial thing that's, I mean, culture is converting into something very quick that we pass and we swipe away. Talking about courage, maybe the first thing to say is maybe give a little minute of silence to a great man who passed away in sense of architecture, Frank Gehry, who died at 96 years old. But talking about courage, he was a person that really pushed the boundaries, no? He had the courage to think differently. And so maybe, DJ, we give a little bit of silence and then we could start the conversation. But I hope that every time somebody important, I mean, Robert Stern also passed away, incredible critic, but it's also sad to see like so many pictures happening and then it disappears because then the next news is who else is going to die next, no? But we need to pay respect to the people that really opened up spaces for us. So maybe a minute of silence is good for this courageous man, and then we continue. Thank you very much. Now we can continue. Okay.
Yeah.
And we can start with the, yes.
Well, yeah, this is an amazing, I think, very interesting, like theme to talk about. I think, and we, I mean, as you found it, like we have it for free and we underestimate it. It's like, I think it's like a superpower that we have, like almost like magic, you know, because everything we have here, like everything we see, everything was created in human history, civilization, was first imagined. It didn't exist. So, and everything that will happen, it must be first imagined. So, I think you found a very important thing that we neglect to put it into use in our daily life. So if you could say something about this magic, give us a little bit insight.
I mean, you're seeing some images in the background, some text that I wrote about what I'm seeing today, no? I think that, I mean, we just passed some images of when a president wins the elections in the United States and it looks like an Elvis Presley show. It's like, what is going on, no? There's something crazy happening with the way we're sharing information, the way the culture is becoming so superficial that it doesn't have the depth as it had before, no? Because nobody has the time even to think or to go deep into many things. Everybody knows the 5-minute headline, but they swipe their phones thinking they know about the world, but nobody goes in depth. So I think that we're in a moment that we need to come back to the things that even now, this minute of silence for Frank Gehry feels like what? It's a minute past already. It's
too long.
It's too long, no? It's like, no, it's not too long, no? And we should breathe more and take things more in depth and really think what we're doing, because we're in this rat race of producing so fast, so much information that it's like, what is really relevant? What stays, no? So everything is for the clicks and the likes, and that becomes like, really, that is where we're heading? And in a time when culture was really had depth because it's films, because it's literature, because it's music, everything. And now it's like people just want to be famous and there is no real kind of meaning. So I mean, I have a 21-year-old daughter, for the people that know me, but looking at kids and you see them, they don't need permission to imagine. Kids are having a great time. They're looking at things, climbing trees, grabbing rocks. And we start growing old and we become very boring. We start taking ourselves too seriously, and then we think that we cannot do that anymore because we need to pay the bills and we need to do this and that. And we forget really that whatever heartbreak we're having think of the things that really make you uncomfortable in the world, and try to see what you can do to fix a little bit of that. And maybe that imagination can lead to many things. So, I mean, we're here, of course, as architects, but I don't talk about architecture. I talk really imagination as a tool for anybody, you know, because places like Mexico, and I see it also here in Albania, in Mexico, we're incredibly creative, but because of necessity. Mexico has an incredible amount of ingenious people, but they're not inventing things because they feel they're creative. They're inventing things because they want to survive. And a road is blocked, and then there's a market, and everybody goes out and sells informal stuff. And then somebody puts some buckets in the street, and then a woman comes in and puts a taco stand. And they're improvising all the time. And that's kind of the beauty of informality as well. All these kind of things that happen that are vibrant, that in most organized cities you don't have, no? It's like the street will always be a street. And here in Mexico, I know that streets, today there are streets, but tomorrow I don't know what they're going to be, no? And they change all the time. But really understanding that, let's go back to imagining if we want to change things. And let's go back, because you'll see some other images talking about, I feel we're living in a moment so isolated from the other, and we talked about this before. I mean, this image about mental health is one great example, no? Everybody's so worried about, I need to take care of me, and I'm going to work on me, and then I'm going to put my boundaries, but I'm going to be safe. But if I'm always working on me, I don't pay attention to the other because I'm really obsessed about me. And they were forgetting to connect, and things don't happen if there's not culture, if there's not a community, if there's not a group of people thinking even of new directions. But anyway, I don't want to jump into a lot of the conversation, but it's basically a little bit about that. Like, people complaining about the wars in different places, people complaining about the pandemic. It's like, yes, but what do you imagine, no? What are you thinking that could be a different scenario, no? How do we really change? Because I always say that when there's always somebody complaining, there's another person seeing it as a huge opportunity. And there's somebody thinking like, wow, this is the best moment in time to do this. But it depends on where you want to be. But anyway.
And, well, we all, when you hear you, we all want to be that person that can have that power to imagine or free oneself, let's say, from the restraints of not imagining. But what is it really that would make us, would give us that freedom? Is it space? Is it crisis? Is it personal crisis? Is it social crisis? Like, from your life experience, and you're a person of many layers that we are going to uncover little by little tonight. How do you see it? Like, what makes a person like free itself, himself, herself to imagine?
I think that crisis is a good word, no? But I think that in Albania and in Mexico, hearing the word crisis is a common thing, rather than in different countries that don't hear crisis that often, or when they hear crisis, they're paralyzed, no? And I think, again, it's an exercise, and people don't, if you understand creativity as an exercise, imagination as an exercise, you will understand that you have to exercise it, because otherwise you might think of some idea, but then you get distracted again in your social media, or you get distracted into something else. But exercising the way your brain works and your mind works to think of different scenarios, I mean, I have these conversations with my friends because I loved it when neuroscientists put the term fixed mindsets and growth mindsets. And he described which are the growth mindsets and which are the fixed mindsets. So a fixed mindset is the one who says, this is how I am, and I'm not going to change ever, and whoever likes me will like me, whoever doesn't like me will not like me, which we saw some generations being like that. In other generations, I am this person, but I'm willing to question myself because I want to grow and I want to keep my mind expanding. So this exercise of, the same way as people say, I'm not a writer. Well, you're not a writer because you don't sit down and write. But if you would sit down and write, you probably might not become the most famous writer, but you will write. But it becomes an exercise that if you don't do it, it just fades out. So I don't know, the same way as people say, keep a diary and write things that you see on day to day. It's like, this trend, of like, write things that you're grateful for by the end of the day. It's like yes, but you have to understand that gratitude is a way of living. It's not your three favorite things that you're grateful for at night. But start with like, what would you imagine that could change, no? And I remember that I started having these conversations with my daughter when she was growing up, and I said, promise me that when I get boring, you will tell me, no? If I'm not curious with you while you're growing up, I'm becoming old. I want to keep my curiosity and remind me. So she would sometimes be like, Dad, you're growing old. Really? Okay, so I would sit down and like we would talk about these conversations of the what ifs, because I love the stage that kids always ask, Daddy, why is this and why is that? And I said that the best grown person is the one who keeps asking, no? Why this and why that and why not this way?
So you just uncovered now that you're a dad.
Yes.
You have a grown-up girl, and was it 2 weeks ago that you were somewhere with her? Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
I have to confess that after that experience, I really said I could die after this day. So we all, I mean, I don't know how many people have kids in the room? So young, the audience. Only a couple of hands raised over there. But you always want your kids to listen to your music and to read the books that you're reading and to kind of have your interests. But you never know. At some point, my daughter was hearing reggaeton and I almost died. But that wasn't going to be a good death. But anyway, long story short, she ended up growing up to love Radiohead, which is one of my favorite bands. And Nina, she's a full-grown woman, 21 years old. She's studying graphic design in Madrid. And she's like, Dad, Radiohead is coming back, and they're starting their tour in Madrid. I'm like, let's get tickets no matter what. And I was on this trip in Japan that I was supposed to stay an extra day, and I ended up convincing the people there, like, guys, you have to let me go because I need to go with my daughter to see Radiohead. I took a 36-hour flight to I don't know how many places to get to Madrid on the same day of the concert. And it was the best experience ever, but the real scene or the magical moment was there's of course the stage and everybody's down in the general area, and we had luckily family and friends tickets. We were like 2 seats a little bit up on the stage, but we were sitting down. So first I was telling the guys behind, like, you know what, I'm sorry, we're huge fans of Radiohead, we're not going to sit down at all. When they saw that we were singing all the songs, they were like, okay, it's okay that you guys are standing up. But then, this song that the DJ is playing, Street Spirit Fade Out, is my daughter's favorite song. And so Tom York in the circular stage runs to every area, and in this moment he's facing us, and everybody's sitting down, and my daughter and I were like having this moment, and I look at her and I say, I think I'm gonna let her have this moment. So I sit down, and she's the only one standing up, looking at Tom York, and she's like singing, almost crying, and she looks at me, she says, Dad, he's singing to me. and in that moment I said, okay, I can die right now, and it's okay. No, but it was a beautiful moment. And coming back to things that matter, those are the important projects, no? To me, at least, the family. We talked also about this before. The friends that you meet, because you're doing what you do, becomes, to me, what really matters. Because this is what builds us as humans, and that ends up helping us build the things that we want to build in this world, no? So I think that people might say that it's not relevant to, no, it's 100% relevant, because being an architect or being a professional in whatever you do is not a suit that you put on and, okay, I'm an architect because I'm wearing the suit of an architect. You're this human being having this experience that you're manifesting and translating your experience of this world into the things that you feel you can be of service, no? But anyway, it was a beautiful moment. I didn't die. I hope I get to live more concerts, but
No, but how did she?
I could have died.
She went from reggaeton to Radiohead. That's an amazing change.
She had like 2 months because, of course, all her friends were hearing reggaeton. But no, she's a huge fan of Bjork and Radiohead and good influences.
I feel it because my son, when he was little, he used to listen to. He went to sleep with David Bowie, Life in Mars, and everything. And now he listened to hip hop. Some of it good, but some some not so good. So he's the manager of hip hop music. Okay.
Hip hop is okay.
But you know, it's I feel it when he listens when your child listens to bad music, you know, it's.
No, but it would be interesting later to talk. We'll have maybe over some drinks, but I used to be a musician, and I played in a band for a long time, and they will probably sit me down in the drum set, which I haven't played in 25 years or something, but I was also interested in, when I played in the band, there was a movement in Mexico and in Latin America in general called rock en español. And it was when Argentina was fighting over the islands to England, and they said, fuck you, we're going to speak in Spanish. We're not going to speak in English anymore. And they started, there was this whole movement about music in Spanish. And it was like a world phenomenon, no? From Spain to Argentina to Colombia, Venezuela, Mexico. But we were all playing music because we felt part of a community. We felt part of this group that was changing things, not as individual that I want to be a musician because I want to be famous. And today, even though I love this new band called Geese, and there's other bands that I feel that are interesting out there, but I don't feel, again, like a movement, like many bands coming together in a strength of like, it starts here in Albania and now it populated everywhere, as you once had the Bristol movement in London, no? Portishead, Massive Attack, and all these other bands. But anyway, again, it's like I might be the only one thinking that everybody's becoming a bit more individual and less collective, but it would be good to open up the conversation also.
Yeah, that's what I wanted, because also that's very interesting for Michel, because before he became an architect, he was a musician, he was a drummer he was a very good drummer. Maybe you can prove it.
Later.
We'll prove it now or later?
We can, later.
A bit later.
He's going to grab the bass drum, the bass, and we're going to maybe jam a little bit. But yeah.
But
promise,
actually, you told me a few songs, and it was a very nice band. And I think you also recorded a few albums, and now we can find them in Spotify.
Yeah. I mean, we recorded 4 albums with Virgin Records. I was signed with Virgin Records at 18, and we opened up for Duran Duran like back in the days. And it was a serious band. I mean, I remember the moment we signed with the record company. I was in first semester of architecture, and my amazing mother, which I love, and she's been like an incredible guidance all my life. As mothers do, she came to me and she said, "Look, I know you're signed with the record company, and you could probably live by being a musician, and now you're going to be signed, and probably you will be famous because the company is trusting on you. But I would recommend that you keep on studying architecture. And whenever you get tired of one or the other, or when you can't do it anymore," those were the famous words. When you cannot do them anymore, I'm like, it's a challenge. So you drop one out, no? And I took it on as okay, none is a hobby, because people would, back in those days, I mean, for all the people that don't have kids and you're younger, today you guys can do many things. You're an architect, photographer, DJ, chef, all these things. Before, back in those days, you couldn't do many things, because to the musicians back in those days, I was betraying musicians because I was studying architecture. I didn't believe in music 100%. And to my friends that were architects, I was betraying architecture because I was also playing the drums, and that meant that I was not going to be a serious architect. And in my mind, it was like, no, I mean, these are my passions, and I feel that none of them are hobbies, no? They're expressions, again, of what I am trying to do. And it was a beautiful moment, because also, looking back at it, I think I managed, it's not that I'm not good with frustration, but I managed to stay out of frustration for a while, because while my friends in music were frustrated because the radio stations were not playing our single, I was doing physical models to go the next day to school and present a project. And when my colleagues in school were crying about the professor breaking up their model, I was on tour, getting on a bus to play the drums. So I also started to understand I can either have my mind on the things that are frustrating and negative, or I can keep producing no matter what. And it was a beautiful moment, because I was also earning money with the musical industry that could support my passion for architecture and not give up when a client came with his 300 books and wanted a narco mansion with the lions on the entrance, and I'll be, no, this is not what I want to do. So it was kind of a good way to balance. No?
Very smart of your mother to keep you busy enough so you don't do, I don't know, stuff, what kids do generally. But so it's very interesting for you to say that, or like for you to be part of a rock band at an early age that somehow taught you how to collaborate with others, how to be in tune, or how to be synchronized with other human beings doing a similar thing, but not exactly the same thing. And when we see your projects, or when you tell about them, when we see who is doing those projects together with you, we somehow see that you collaborate with many other architects. You're very generous. Can you say this is exactly because of your past, or is it your nature that somehow you're a very open, generous man that you want to share? It's more important to be working with other people than doing like the thing on your own. Like, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes. Well, I think that, of course, coming from the musical industry, and I believe that even more now, no? Musicians are always on the look for a producer, a new guitar player, or they want to jam with this guy who sings amazing, or somebody that plays an incredible instrument. And that happened in music when I was growing up. Everybody wanted to jam. It was not about being famous or not being famous, but like let's just get together, grab your instruments, and let's play. And when I started working as an architect, when I finally left the music business for architecture, I found it very isolated. Nobody wanted to collaborate, because if you wanted to go to an office, they would hide their models and their photo. They didn't want to show anything because they would think that you were there to copy. No, I'm here to steal your ideas. And I'll be like, no, I don't want to steal anything. I want to collaborate. And again, this thing about the openness to collaborate, I've always found, going back to fixed mindsets and growth mindsets, the only way that, to me, I can keep on growing, at least personally, is by seeing different people's perspectives and being open to see how they see the world. In a very, first of all, the presence of being with somebody that you want to hear them and see their world. No? So that creates this beautiful thing of like, why am I going to talk always when I can listen to you? And instead of coming and collaborating on a project where I'm like, let's collaborate, but we are going to do this. It's like, no, let's collaborate. And let's see what comes out. And let's see what happens out of this collaboration. And as in any relationship, if there is growth in a partner relationship, in a working relationship, I think that's the result of a beautiful relationship, where you ended up growing with that person that you're working with. If it's just egos on the table, there's no growth. No, it's like it's a sword fight. Who's the genius on the table? And I think that in the world today, we don't need genius projects. We need projects that are the best result for cities, for what we need to change in society, for all the things that, again, that we think that are not right, that can happen. But so I always say that, yeah, a lot of people collaborate, but are they really open to collaborate? Open means being open to different ideas, and open to that you might not have that incredible idea. And in Mexico, when I was doing my first projects, that I invited sociologists or anthropologists or other minds on the table to discuss a project with the client, just to make him understand that it was not just about architecture. So we would change a little bit his original program, not because of the ego of the architect trying to change something. It was like, no, the sociologist has a really interesting point that is really relevant to what we're doing here. And that changed complete narrative of the project, no?
And since you mentioned projects, and can you tell us a little bit about the Nestle Museum? Because I think that is something that has to do with what you exactly told us, like changing a little bit the brief because of something you saw together with your collaborators that could be more interesting. We don't have the slides here, but maybe you can explain a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, back in the days, we did this chocolate museum that It was kind of the first origami folded projects, no? A red thing that we did back in the days, almost 20-something years ago. The president of Nestle in Mexico, he wanted a store. He wanted just to improve the factory where you take the kids and they see how the production of chocolate happens. And we did some research and we came back to him. We said, well, this is great, but there is no chocolate museum. So yes, we can do the store, but why don't you tell the history of chocolate in Mexico? Because it has a really huge history, no? Cacao in Mexico has been this incredible story from the Aztecs till today. And I don't care that you're Nestle, an international company, share stories, share art through what you want to do. Just don't, it's not just about selling to the kids the chocolates. Give them stories, give them the history, and I don't care if you sell them chocolates, but just at least feed them with something that's talking about giving culture back. And when I saw that he immediately changed his mind and we did the project, it gave me again the courage to question my clients and to say, if I change the mind of this guy, I can maybe change the mind of my other clients. And in every project we've done, the National Film Institute, it didn't have a, well, I mean, this is the winery, but I'll talk about some stuff about the winery. This is more about sustainability and reciprocity. But in the National Film Institute, a project for the government, yes, it's about film, but it became a place where in Mexico we had another awful earthquake in 2017, and it became the place where people went to give stuff to the families that either somebody died in their family in the earthquake, or they needed clothes, or they needed food. It becomes a place where the mothers of the disappeared children of Ayotzinapa also gather and still complain to the government about their kids. So it became a really democratic space where it was the film was an excuse to people gather there. And the same way in most of our projects, we always want to challenge the idea of like, this is what you want, yes. What can we together do for the country or for the community that is connected immediately? So I think that by exercising this way of doing things, you start feeling more comfortable and more secure about, yes, we can change our minds. And sometimes if I can't make a client think or rethink of something, I might not even do the project. I'm like, no, this guy is just interested in his own narcissism or his wallet and his economy, and he's not even thinking about any benefit, not only for his kids, but for future generations, no? Because we also sometimes, another thing that I talk a lot about is multi-generational. We have to stop thinking about, I want to leave this for my daughter, no? I want to leave something for future generations, no? So we have to start thinking on a longer term rather than the immediacy, no?
So thinking about the longer term, I want to ask you about education or training our kids. So we had a conversation before about is it architecture? Should it be as a profession or just
No. We were having yesterday, and it's been a long conversation. You all heard that a person that I don't want to mention because I hate spending time on him, but he mentioned in the U.S. that architecture was not a profession. No, that it was not going to be a professional degree. No, that was his exact words. Architecture will not be recognized.
It's not considered as a professional degree to be subsidized, like students could get subsidies from the state, to study architecture. So.
And having that in mind, I couldn't stop thinking, and I wrote something down that I wanted to share with you guys today. But first of all, I think that first of all, it's more than a degree, no? I don't think that anybody that has a degree is a good architect. The same way that I believe that there's a lot of people out there that don't have a degree and they're amazing architects or urbanists or thinkers, no? We've seen this all over the world. But I wrote something brief that says, calling architecture a non-professional degree while living in cities shaped by it is like saying surgery is a hobby while lying on the operation table. So imagine somebody calling architecture not a professional degree well, cities have formed us, no? I mean, we've all been formed by our cities, by our houses. We come out of the womb, the next place is our home, and then the city that embraces us. So not understanding this is like, what's the level of the culture inside your head? No, it's like I can't believe, I know that the strategy is saying so much stupidity that at the end of the day, everybody is numb and nobody reacts, no? We all know that that's a political strategy, but still, it's like, what are we doing as professionals standing up for this? Not only that it's happening in the US, but as a global community of architects saying like, what's going on, no? But,
what do you think about the education in general, you know? I mean, in every degree, because especially now, in this age of AI, it's such a fast, dynamic
Changing
life, industrial, because I'm asking this because I was a professor of graphic design, new media, for 13 years, and then I decided to leave because, for example, the system is too old, you know, it takes, for example, at our state university, it takes like 4 years to update the curriculum. And now, 4 years, you know, you can start something and then that professionally will be irrelevant, you know?
no, it's going to change for sure. I mean, we have Winka Dubeldam is working here. She's a dear friend, and now she's the dean of SCIARC, no? And so there's this conversations about curriculum. In Mexico, Chelly now is the director of the school that I study. So there's the first woman also architect as a dean. And we've been having these conversations because it's unstoppable. AI will start going into education curriculums, but the guess or the conversations that we've had is in the same way that you have your algorithms selecting things that you like. If there's intelligent algorithms, not just to sell, but if there's intelligent algorithms that we study the same career, same architecture school, but AI will teach you architecture in a very different way than it will teach me. Well, maybe you and me, because we're musicians, we might be shown in the same way because it starts understanding the way our minds work. So it will be customized in a way that it's going to be very different from you than from me. But not in the way that I want to sell you something, but I'm understanding that you're more savvy with this or this type of explanation than the other one that you might not even understand, no? Because I think we've all complained that, and we all know that schools teaching everybody the same thing doesn't work at all, no? I mean, we all have a different, if we all see the world in so many different ways, we cannot be taught in the same way. It's not going to work. And that's where I think if it's a good way of integrating AI, it's going to be great. And if it's a shitty way of integrating AI, we're all going to lose a lot of...
I think it's a tool. I mean, it will help us a lot as a tool, but we'll see how it develops.
Yeah, but it definitely needs to change. And it needs to change because all these things that we're questioning now, I mean, in architecture schools, I mean, we believe that when our students arrive, they know about empathy, about connection, about open minds, and about collaboration. We take it for granted. We say, no, you're an adult, your parents taught you this, your life must have taught you this, so I'm going to teach you the technicalities of being an architect. And it's like, I don't know if that's correct. No, I think sometimes we should take a couple of steps back and say, like, you know, one of the most important things of being an architect is empathy. If you don't have empathy and you don't know who you're working for, how do you come and talk if you don't connect to it? You're not understanding what the community is going through, no?
It's very good that you brought it to this, let's say, subtopic. Because, like one of the reasons why we want to talk with architects and why we invite different architects that work in Albania to talk, to give lectures, is to also inspire students, because it's not only about what we learn at school or what we hear at school, but also what we hear from others that are doing the profession and how we can be inspired from them. And you say community is very important, like the empathy, how you can design for a certain community, how you get to know that community is very important in what you do. And most of your projects reflect that. One of the best projects that maybe you have, according to me, is Fora del Boca, Fora Boca,
the symphony hall.
Yeah, which has got also several, let's say, awards, and if I'm not mistaken, is recognized also like internationally. Yeah, that is also something that you have done very much close in with a community that is living around, but also with a community that used to construct that building. So if you can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that was a beautiful experience because I was invited by the government to do a symphony hall, and I was a bit skeptical because I had worked for the previous government in Mexico and did the National Film Institute, and which resulted in the project not being completed. There was no opening because the construction companies didn't finish the project, so they opened it up, and one of the worst rains that we happened to have in Mexico flooded the auditorium, and that's where I learned what trolling was, social media. I was like, this architect didn't finish it. I'm like, the construction was never finished by the contractors. It finished later, but it never really completed what we had designed. So I said, I don't think I want to work with the government again, but this guy called me. And this is in Veracruz, in Boca del Rio. And it was beautiful the way he explained it. And again, this is when hearing, being present to hear the person talking to you and having empathy, he started describing that he won the mayor of Boca del Rio. And Boca del Rio is in Veracruz, in the Pacific Ocean. And he was asking people what they were proud of. And everybody was not answering anything. So the people in Boca were not proud. They didn't have a sense of pride. So he found a couple of classical musicians, and he said, maybe here is where I can make them proud. He brought them together. They started forming a band, a classical musical group, an orchestra. He bought an international director, and they started playing, and they became a very famous orchestra. And by the time he called me, it's like, I'm calling you now because now they need to have a house. So now I want to build them. They earned having a house, their own philharmonica, instead of playing in the other philharmonicas. So I was immediately I'm in. I don't care. I'm in. If the government doesn't do whatever again, I don't care. I'm a sucker for this type of things. And there was a couple of beautiful things that related to me. First of all, as an ex-musician, doing a concert hall was a beautiful thing. It matched my passions in life. But also my family, my parents came from Poland, Russia, and Hungary. No? So there was a mix before the Second World War. They immigrated. They tried to reach New York. The port of New York was closed, and then they entered Veracruz. So my grandparents entered through Veracruz. So it was like, holy shit. So it's like so many things coming to play where if my grandparents wouldn't have entered this place, I wouldn't be in Mexico doing architecture. So it was very meaningful. And also from day one doing this Philharmonica, it was how do you make them, the Philharmonic in itself, feel proud to have a symphony hall and to have it as a house of culture. And second, the most amazing thing happened. We were always wanting to show respect for the workers. And it's always difficult, like, what do you do? I mean, I always have this thing of saying hi to the workers that arrive every day in the work and thank them because they're helping us build our dreams. But here the mayor had a different idea. He arrives one day, 4 months before the opening, and in Mexico, government projects, you always have the politician like screaming and, we have to do that, blah, blah, blah. And he starts like, I want right now everybody on the main concert hall. So all the workers are like dropping their tools and like, what is this guy? Is he gonna scream at us? And everybody was kind of frightened. And so the workers start like sitting down on we didn't have any seats, but they were sitting down on the inclined, on the slope. And suddenly you start hearing musicians one by one, and they start appearing with helmets and with hard hats and with vests, dressed as construction workers to give the first concert to the workers of the place. So the workers start seeing like these guys come up on stage and they're playing, And they're like turning around, like, who are these guys playing for? Like are they playing for this? Or like what's going on? And they realized that they were playing for them, and they couldn't believe that not only they were being recognized as workers, because they were saying, I'm the same as you, I'm just a musician, and you're the worker, but we're the same. You work in this, I work in this, but I recognize you as this other person that I was saying that normally we don't recognize, no? But it was a beautiful experience. And that also made me value when we have clients that they say that they're interested in doing good in future communities, but they didn't even say hi to the guy in the door or to the waiter, or they speak bad to the waiter. It's like, if you're speaking bad to the waiter or to the guy cleaning the street, how can I trust that you really think that you're going to do a community that's nice, no? So again, it's just like paying attention to the way we do things. No?
And it's not that you're attentive only to human beings and communities in general, but you're very attentive also to nature, to landscapes, and trying to, let's say, read the context, like the natural context, when you respond to a certain brief. And this is the case of pictogramma, no? Like, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
And projects, are running on the background. Maybe what we're talking about isn't really like what is on the slide, but yeah, you can maybe relate to that.
Yeah, it's not synchronized. Well, I have to confess that when I started studying architecture, I really was in a bit of a crisis, because just even thinking of opening up a piece of land and sticking something in the ground to something that's alive, because our planet is obviously alive, I was like, what are we doing? I mean, we're sticking a foundation and it's grabbing, and it's like something sticking in your body, you know? So I was like, wow, and I would tell my students, if you're not gonna do something that has a deep meaning, leave nature. It's much better. So the responsibility of even thinking of replacing something that's going to be in the land, how are we understanding what the land is? Because sometimes we build and we say, there's nothing underneath. Of course, there's still earth underneath, and there's still life underneath, and there's still things communicating underneath. We just forgot about it. We build the roads, and under the road there's nothing. There's just the road for our cars, and it's not, right? One of the things that I'll come back to pictogramma, but one of the things that when people talk about sustainability, I think that we should now move to a new stage where it's about not only self-sufficient, but giving back. Like I always mention, like, for instance, you have your smartwatch and your Oura ring to measure your sleep. How are we measuring the land beneath our buildings? So imagine that we're here, and then the land asks for humidity because it's like super dry. And of course, we have the tanks where you went to the bathroom and whatever, and it has a relationship to the land because we're reading technology of things that happen, no? Or it needs, it's too wet, and now, I don't know. But starting to have more sensitivity of things that are happening. And now going back to pictogramma, our winery, in the winery, it's a place that doesn't have a lot of water. So we wanted to test, besides the winery, if we could have some pool areas that you had the pool, but you had somewhere that you were treating the water. And of course, not the smelly water, but like you were treating the water, and you could see the way the water was being treated to use it for the plants in a way that that kitchens, before they had their star chefs, the kitchen was in the back and nobody wanted to see a kitchen. And then we said, let's put the kitchen in front, and now the kitchen became kind of the center of a restaurant. But we started to see the production part of it that we never saw before. And I think, again, coming back to when the Pompidou was done, it was about that. Let's show the installations. Let's show like everything of all the tubes and all the things that we normally hide. Let's show it. But because I think that if you start showing all the process and what happens, we will be more conscious, no? I mean, today I'm still surprised. I mean, we had a project for the Vitra Museum 20 years ago, or not, 18 years ago, where we were proposing houses that the toilets would read our vital signs. Because to me, I don't understand why we flush the toilet and it doesn't give us information. It's like we should have these intelligent toilets that you go to the bathroom and it would tell you either you're hungover or you need more hydration or you had a lot of red meat. It wouldn't cost a lot. I mean, I hope somebody invents it soon because it's like it's so stupid that we're just wasting things. And again, it's because why can't we imagine all these other things happening, no? But the winery was just an excuse to start showing people again. The land is not ready to produce its own wine, so the winemaker there decided to do a sort of Breaking Bad experiment thing where he's mixing Grenache grapes, which to most people, the winemakers that are very serious, it's like, oh, that's not serious wine. You have to have your own grapes and have so many years. But I like that there's this kid thinking of a different way of producing wine. So I love being part of the experiment, no, in that one.
So when is the drum going to play? Now or later?
I don't know.
Because we have more to talk, but how do you feel about
so
it?
we play and then we play and then we come back?
I don't know.
We can do one and then we can come back.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that if AI goes so advanced, it will take over architecture. I think you can come back always to drumming because it won't be a drummer, AI.
Okay. Are you sure? Let's. Jam along with you.
Great.
Okay. Somebody has the courage to sing a little bit later, we can also do that.
I cannot cover that. Yeah, thank you, Michel. This was really amazing and very inspiring.
And I also, this is I hope this stage becomes a confession stage, because this is, I think that the informal way of doing this is when people can start confessing things, when they feel in a safe space to be vulnerable enough to talk and have the courage to open up.
We always do it here, you know?
No, so I was going to confess that I've been invited to have a drum set on stage, and I hate it. Because people are like, yeah, come on, play one of your songs. And I'm like, I'm not a drummer. I mean, when I say I'm not a drummer anymore, my musician friends get angry because they're like, you're once a drummer, you're always a drummer. But I would hate it because I'm like, well, this is something that I did, but it doesn't define who I am today. But when you guys suggested it, I'm like, why not? This is my family, so...
You had the courage to prove, huh? Yeah.
But again, it's these things that you think you are or that you're not, no? And again, talking about the exercise of being open to changing your beliefs, I really exercise it every day. When I see myself thinking like, no, I'm not going to do this because, I'm like, why not? Maybe I should do this because I probably will learn.
No, you're good. You're good, especially with tempo, you know. But you have drums at home?
A little bit of. I have drums at home.
Really?
But,
so you rehearse every day?
No, no. I actually, I mean, I did a basement with my drum kit and soundproof, which is great. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to play every day. I never play. I'm traveling most of the time, and when I don't travel, I want to see my daughter, or I want to do something else. But yeah, now I think no, you know, I would come back to music if I would do like sound installations. I don't know if I would come back to music to play with a band, but I would kind of love to do like record some drum tracks, and maybe I always dreamed of buildings having sound design, and some have. But I was like, why aren't we introducing more sound design to buildings? That you could be in a hallway and you're here, instead of having it in a museum, you always have an experience of a sound somewhere, no? Yeah, and that kind of never caught up, no? It never became a kind of a thing, but it would be very nice to have, no?
Well, you can do this next year. If we finish with Bessie, our studio, we're doing a music studio, so maybe you can come and record. We'll have drums there and everything.
Yes, I'd love to. I'd love to.
So we are running out of time, and yeah, you can talk a lot. You have many projects, but I wanted to touch one more thing, that another layer of yours. You see, we have some running shoes over there. These are Michel's running shoes. Every morning you go running, wherever you are. It doesn't matter if you're in Mexico City or in Tokyo or in Tirana. You go running every morning, and also build a community, kind of like when running in other places. And that is also a way how you explore cities.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it becomes a beautiful way of. First of all, it's a mental therapy. No, I say it's always cheaper than a psychologist. No, to have your running shoes.
That's good advice.
Because you get to know yourself. You're there with you. I mean, a lot of people use headphones. I love running on my own because, I started listening to podcasts like a way of cheating time, no? or time hacking, as they call it, because now I can hear a 1 hour podcast while I'm running. But I started running without listening to music because I wanted to hear my body. And I normally run at 5:36 in the morning. And the beauty is that in every city that you are, the city's waking up. So you get to see a city that at 5:30, you start seeing people cleaning the street, and you start seeing somebody maybe opening the front door of a bakery. It's a beautiful way to see cities. It's like a choreography, no? The sun is coming out, and it's funny because I would travel to every country and go out and run, and the next day they would come and invite me, like, I'm going to give you a tour of the city, and you would be like, I already did a tour of the city. No, but I'm going to take you to this plaza. No, I was already in the plaza, but we can go again. But it was a way of seeing everything before humanity woke up, and the traffic and the cars and everything else. And it also became a way of, again, of having clarity of mind. I have the good side of it, which is very therapeutical. We created communities all over the world because you would have running clubs, and then you would connect with a running club in a different country. I've had good friends, for instance, in Prague, a friend that organized a lecture there. He's like, can you do a running tour? So I did a 10K running tour of architectural projects, and they did some T-shirts, and it was fun to do. But I also have a downside, which is why I try to question my beliefs. And it's because we think we know better, but we always have this mind that is cheating on us. And I think I'm a person that listens to my body, you know? And I was doing a lot of marathons, and I came to a point where I needed to have hip surgery. And I couldn't believe it, because I'm like, no, you have to be kidding me, because I'm very spiritual, I do meditation, and I feel my body, and I didn't force my body at all. And the doctor was like, no, I have some news for you. You did force your body, and you finished your right cartilage, and you need to have hip surgery. And it took me 3 years to let it sink in, and I found a doctor that does sports, a sports doctor, that he's the only one who told me that he could operate on me and have me running again, which I said, I don't care if I need an operation, I want to go back to running. I hope more responsible now, that I don't kind of injure my body. But it's again, this thing that, what are your beliefs? But I believe it's also a matter of having clarity of your conversations, no, of your thoughts. And I would love, if I had a very tough meeting, I would love running in the morning, because I would arrive at the place with a sharp mind and clarity of the things that you wanted to talk about, no? But yeah, that was Adelina's idea, to have my my shoe. I hope they're clean.
Is there any other thing that you want to show from your projects?
To confess.
No.
Yeah, to confess before we let the audience ask.
I have to confess that it's an honor to be here, and we've talked about this many times. I think that thank you for doing what you're doing. Thanks for us as architects coming from different parts of the world, coming to Albania where there's hope and there's trust. And there's, again, the importance of believing in art and architecture. I think it's so meaningful and powerful, and it's a way to make culture again be about culture, no? To a lot of the young people that are here and architects that we're collaborating with, it's beautiful to see also how you're growing as an office and the things we share. So it's not only about, so you're going to do my project. No, we're going to do projects together, and there's going to be a learning process. So it's really an honor. I couldn't be in a better place to have these dialogues and to talk about the future of things when the world is collapsing. No, we're seeing a crazy world where the American empire is in full, and everything is a little bit in chaos, and having a prime minister that believes in art, a group of people working with him is really, I think that talking about schools, I think that there's the academic part and there's the school of life with all these architects coming to Albania that is going to make a generation of Albanian architects be an insane generation of architects. Because you're having this, I bet my life on it, because there is no other option. If you are working with all these talented minds in projects and you're collaborating, the growth is just unprecedented.
Because we have the courage to imagine.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course.
So now it's time for the audience to have questions. If you have questions, to take the microphone and have the courage to ask them.
Or talk about hip hop. Yes. You can come on stage, it's okay.
Hi, since we're into this meeting of imagining and thinking about the future and everything, I wanted to ask you one question. If you would pick between playing all the instruments of the world and speaking all the languages of the world, what would you pick?
Instruments. No, and I mean, I sometimes believe that words are a little bit short of things that we want to communicate. I sometimes think our vocabulary is, I mean, when my daughter was growing up, it was hard, and I learned this when she was a little bit older, and I wish I would have learned that when she was younger. We need to teach our kids that our first language is energy. It's not Albanian, it's not Spanish, it's not English, it's energy. And we forget. And we teach them a language, and they forget that energy is the way that we can communicate. So sometimes words to me are like, there has to be another way of understanding, and sometimes music creates those emotions and things that we cannot express in words. No? But good question. Somebody else? Come on.
Be courageous. No?
Nobody?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is something you wish young architects knew the sooner the better?
What do I wish young architects knew the sooner the better? Their power to imagine things, not waiting for finishing a career. People think, I mean, maybe, again, of course it's because we're a different generation. When we wanted to express an idea, it was so hard. You had to go and stalk an architect or break the window of somebody and throw in a sketch or talk about an idea. Today, you have an idea and you just hit click and it's on the internet. And you can become the most stupid person in the world, or you can become a clever person that now has resonance with something and you start a conversation. So you build thoughts that build architecture. So build your minds. Really work on what you're reading, what you're listening to, how you're seeing the world, because that will really make you a good architect. I mean, of course, the technicalities you learn in school, but the way you observe life, you don't learn in school. The way you observe life is a daily work on what you want to, what you're perceiving. Because if you're, I believe that the most successful architects, people go to them because of the way they view the world. Yes, they like their architecture, but they're attracted to the way they're seeing the world through the architecture that they're doing, no? And I think that's a beautiful thing. And you have it, not that you have it easier than we had, but you have an opportunity to, I mean, be writing things, comparing things, sharing things. That is a beautiful moment, and use that opportunity, you know? Don't wait until, when you're a student, you're always thinking, what am I going to do when I start my firm? No, I mean, your firm started the day you decided to be an architect, no? You're rehearsing and seeing how your brain works and everything. That's the input and the output. Okay? Please go ahead, yes?
So, I admit that I didn't know you before, so congratulations, because I'm really impressed by your work, and it left a mark on me. So, but you speak such a good English that you almost not, we almost forget you are from Mexico. So what's that part of Mexican culture that you carry on deep within you that you think that distinguish you as architect? Because you said that the American empire is in decline, and you know, I think Latin American is something that is there, and it's somehow giving some hint of what could be culturally interesting in the next future. So that's interesting for me.
Well, I mean, thanks. Y hablo español perfecto, mexicanísimo. No, I had my father was a National Science Prize. He was a liver disease researcher. So he was always being picked up in different countries to do his work there. And he was picked up in the 70s, so we moved to New York. So I was 5 years old, and I was living in the Bronx in 1975, which for people that think that New York is beautiful and Central Park is beautiful, in 1975 you could not enter Central Park because you could be raped or killed. And it was a tough time to be there as a kid, 5 years old. But I'm Mexican to the core, because I really thrive in the way Mexico thrives, no? In this informality. The moment I got here to Albania, I was joking because I said, I totally understand you, because Europe has downplayed Albanians the way America has downplayed Mexico, no? We're the bad hombres, where the drug dealers, where like all the bad things that could happen happens on this side of the border. And I remember when Trump got elected the first time, we were doing T-shirts that said, "Come to the good side of the border," no, the good side of the wall, because he wanted to build this wall. And I mean, to me, what made America great was everybody coming from all the different countries. And I know that they have great things like some systems that work amazing, but everything that's happening now, the purging of all the different nationalities, and now they want you to give your double nationality. So if you have a double nationality, you're going to have to give one up. So you have to either be American with them or against them, no? So everything, most of my friends are now questioning, should they stay there? They're asking, is Mexico a good place that we can go? Is there no school-wise or academic-wise, and I hope it doesn't collapse, but I mean, I don't see, the whole world in general is seeing that all these dreams of this great country are just falling to pieces, no? Like this, the land of the free, and like ICE is, I mean, all the things that are happening, and it's insane, no? I was given the recognition of an honorary fellow AIA by the American Institute of Architects, and the day I arrived to get the medal, Trump had ordered that the students from Harvard couldn't come back. He said, every student from Harvard that's a foreigner is not coming back to Harvard. And I was really mad. I wanted to say something because the AIA was recognizing me as a Mexican. Ishigami was there from Japan, Alison Brooks from London. So I was like, we should say something because the American Institute is being very brave to give us recognitions while the country is banning students from coming back, no? So, I mean, now in Mexico, we're being flooded by Americans. I mean, we have like, it's insane. Yeah, Mexicans are complaining like, no, build a wall and keep them there. Like don't have them come over. But no, I think that exercising creativity as a Mexican is the most important thing I have as a Mexican. Because when my daughter was little, I would teach her, like, when she put her foot on the street of the sidewalk, I would say, look, in Mexico, even though you see green, it doesn't mean that we can pass. You put your foot down, you look right, you look left, you look up, and you look down, and then you can walk. And that's Mexico, no? You have to be aware. And that sense of awareness, I think, is an incredibly creative tool because nothing works. The system doesn't work, so you have to kind of invent things in a way. And it gives you flexibility to do projects that normally maybe in a place with so many regulations, you have to do this specifically. And it's funny because there was a project that passed, there were people biking, you know, riding bicycles. We did our first project in the US, and we collaborated with a good friend, Marlon Blackwell. And I remember for a long time, I've been told by American friends that they wanted me to be an architect with them or a client. And they would say, but no, here in the US, you're never going to do architecture because what you do in Mexico, you cannot do here, no? And I was very angry also, like why are you downplaying me because I'm a Mexican? I can probably come to your country and try to do something interesting. And when we got there and we saw this community that would ride bicycles, we said, let's do a building. It's an office building, 6 stories. And we told them, why don't we ride bicycles up the 6 stories of your building? And they would be like, nah, that's never going to happen. And of course, we had meetings with the fire department and all the crazy American regulations, and we pulled it off. And it was a way to prove like you can have fun while doing architecture and propose buildings that talk about something very different, no? But I don't know if I want to do too many things now in the US, to be honest. I am happy to be here in Albania.
Because you're home.
At home,
Yeah.
I feel at home, of course.
Well, if we don't have any more questions, maybe we will have the pleasure to listen to your music once more.
No? Some drinks and music.
Okay,
What do you?
good.
Yeah, I think we can have some
Music later then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But thank you very much for taking the time and being here.
Thank you.
You almost made me cry. Thank you, guys. Okay, now music and drinks.